Hi, loves. Thanks for joining me today. Have you ever said to yourself or someone around you, or heard somebody around you say, I just want to do better than my parents did for me, or that their parents did for them. I never want to experience ever again, or for my children to experience, or any other child to experience what I experienced, right? Of course, I can relate to that too, because whatever it was that you experienced that you didn't want to experience, of course you don't want anyone else to experience that. And what we tend to do is do the exact opposite of that and say, I just want to do better. I'm going to do the exact opposite of and sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing the exact opposite just because we want to do better. We didn't agree with, or we didn't, it didn't affect us well the way that things were done before. And so we want to switch it up. And you see that generation after generation, right? One generation being really extreme in this way, and then oftentimes their offspring doing the extreme other way. And it's zigzag, right? Because we're like opposing the generation that came before us. And I wrote down some notes just because I don't want to forget what it was that I wanted to talk about today. So we're so focused on doing the opposite that we end up parenting our children, or even treating ourselves the exact opposite, just because we are saying that we want to do better, and our brains are kind of wired in that way. And we end up not actually respecting the situation in front of us, not actually respecting what it is that we need, or what it is that our child needs, or whomever in front of us needs. Instead, we're just really focused on doing what we think is best, which in a lot of cases might be the opposite of what it was that we experienced, that we didn't appreciate, because we want to do better than that. And it's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's nobody's fault or not nobody, but it's not our own faults that we experience the things that we experience. And a lot of people go around being like, but it's not my fault that I'm this way, right? Okay, it's not your fault that you turned out this way and that you experienced the things that you experienced. However, it is your responsibility to heal from that and to stop that cycle for yourself. Stop that cycle from being passed down beneath you, after you, to the people around you, right? So, and again, it's also not about it being right or wrong. It's not about the way that you were parented was wrong. I mean, you can have your opinions about that, but what I'm saying is it's not about being right or wrong. It's not about whether or not your opinions were right and your parents were wrong, or your grandparents were wrong, or whomever, right? Everybody is in their own experience. Everybody lives in their own place in time, in their own mental, capacity, in their own universe, with their own spirit. Like, we are all so individual that it's not about saying they were wrong, right? It's more so about healing your inner child, so that inner child doesn't take over your life. Your inner child isn't making all your decisions about how you are treating yourself, how you are parenting your children, how you are treating the other people around you, because just doing better is often going to just perpetuate. Like we said, it's like in this zigzag. I'm going to do the opposite of what this generation did, and that generation is going to do the opposite of what this generation, and we go back and forth and back and forth. So doing better and doing the opposite is not doing us any service, is it? And so I think that from what my experience is, one of the first things to do in order to heal your inner child, so that that inner child isn't taking over your actions and deciding how, what it means to do better for you and for your future, one of the first things you need to do is to really be able to feel your feelings and accept your feelings. So if something is coming up for you and it maybe triggers you to be like, oh, well, I experienced this as a kid and I don't want to experience that, so I'm going to do the other way, or I don't want my kids to experience that, so I'm going to do the other way. No matter which other way it is, even if you think it's the right thing to do, what I'm suggesting that I've experienced is the first thing that can help you understand your inner child more, and how your inner child is ruling your life and your decisions, and how you're treating yourself or parenting your children, is really about feeling your own feelings and accepting them. And I'm not suggesting that I have a, I'm not an experienced, I'm not a parent. So I'm not telling you how to parent your children, but what I'm getting at is that there's a difference between doing better and reparenting yourself. So really what I'm talking about is how you parent yourself, how you actually treat yourself the way that you needed to be treated as a kid, so that you're healing yourself from those inner wounds from your inner child. When you're able to do that and focus on what it was that you needed or what it is that you need right now, like imagine yourself as your adult self and imagine yourself as your inner child. And almost like you are two individuals, and your inner child is feeling these feelings, and you allow them to feel those feelings, and you accept those feelings. And even if it's like at a bad time or inappropriate place, you go find a quiet place, like go run to the bathroom, take a moment, feel your feelings, accept yourself for them, and ask yourself, like, what would I tell my inner child, my child self at that age, whatever age you feel like, you're experiencing those feelings? What would I tell them right now if they were a child in front of me? What did I need? What was I looking for? Right? Like when I was feeling those feelings as a kid, what was it that I needed? And how can I, as an adult right now, soothe myself with exactly what it was that I needed? And I think that by us parenting ourselves and focusing less on doing better and offering what it was that we never had and all the things that we wanted to our children or even to ourselves, that's my point, is even to ourselves, you can be like, oh, I want to give myself all the things I never had when I was a child, right? That's what I want now. I'm going to fill myself up with all the things. And that's really not feeling your feelings. That's really not accepting your feelings. And I can only say this, I can only be so confident about this because I experience it so very often that I am soothing myself with what it is that I think that I want, because my inner child is in control. And I started to notice, instead of suggesting to myself, instead of thinking to myself like, oh, I wish that this didn't happen, or I wish that so-and-so did this for me. I wish that so-and-so would have done that. I wish they showed up in this way. I wish that they would do this for me. I wish, like all the things that you wish that your parents did for you as a child, or all the things that they didn't do that you needed from them, all the ways that they fell short from what it was that you really needed. Even if they were fantastic parents, all fantastic parents also lack in areas. Not all parents can give their kid everything they need. Maybe they're not tuned in enough to what it is that their kids need. Maybe they're distracted. Maybe they have their own stuff going on. Whatever the case may be, again, it's not about being right or wrong, right? It's not saying you were wrong. It's just saying I was lacking something. I was feeling something and accepting that, feeling it and accepting it, and then soothing yourself now as an adult. That's something I've been practicing a lot, and honestly, it's been so amazing. And what part of what I wanted to talk about today, or what I really wanted to talk about, is how there is such a difference between doing better and reparenting yourself to break generational curses. Because that zigzagging back and forth through generations of one generation doing the opposite to the next, opposite to the next, opposite to the next, constantly trying to do better, constantly trying to even the scales, is really just in a covert and secretive way is passing down the same generational curse. It's the same thing that it's the generational curse is often deeper than what we think it is. So, maybe it's money. Maybe, you grew up in a really rich home and this is a cliche example, but maybe then you grew up and were like, I really don't need a lot. And you were really, really frugal, or you really made sure that money didn't rule your life. And maybe your children grew up to feel that, they didn't get to do a lot of extra fun things. And, there was like the ability to do it, but you guys just didn't do it because you just didn't really think it was that important. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not as obvious all the time. And all I'm saying is be aware of that. Be aware if there's any themes or patterns of things that are being that are events that are reoccurring in your family generation, if there are similar storylines or any type of patterns repeating that are connected to lots of pain or dysfunction in your family, and those are the generational curses. And I really truly believe that a big way that those are passed on is by us blinding ourselves to our own responsibility of how we handle that, and instead saying, well, they should have done better, and I'm going to do better. I'm going to do the opposite. And before you know it, you're really just passing down the same generational curse, looking in a different way to your kids. And so, today is my 30th birthday. Woo! And I've just been thinking about this a lot lately. I'm getting ready to start my own family soon. I've been wanting to be a parent forever. And, this is just a topic I've been talking a lot about with my therapist. And I just think is so interesting how much people talk about, I want to do better. I want to do better than my parents did. I want to make sure my kids never experience what I experienced. So that's why I'm going to fill in the blank. And fill in the blank, whatever that is that I'm going to do better, that can often be the source of where the pain comes for the next generation, where the dysfunction or the disconnect starts, because we're not focused on what they need. We're focused on what we need. And if we can, heal ourselves by healing our inner child, letting ourselves feel our feelings, accepting those feelings, and practicing serious self-care as a means of health care, it's a completely different effect that it has, because now you are healed and you're no longer acting as the opposite of what it was that you needed, because you're full. You're full. And then you have the ability to look at the people in front of you and truly serve them for what they need. A child doesn't need to be raised the way that you wish you were raised. That's not seeing the person in front of you. Even a loved one, a pet, a spouse, a friend, right? I think this is truly applicable everywhere. They don't need what it was that you needed or what it is that you need. Fill up yourself, and then poof, I'm not saying it's that easy, but the curse will not continue if we heal ourselves. So that's why I truly believe that self-care is the best healthcare. And I'm going to be talking more about that next. Anyways, thanks so much for joining me. If you liked this, subscribe. I am definitely working on getting more consistent with uploading videos. But either way, I will be uploading, even if it's not next week like I plan to. So if you're excited to hear more from me, please let me know, because that's going to give me a lot of motivation and inspiration to keep on making videos like this. And if this actually gave you any value, please like it and make a comment. Tell me how this is applicable to you, or how this experience at all is relevant to do you feel like you have any generational curses that you've identified and ways that you've been able to start to heal that? I'd really love to know that. And if it is if this was helpful to you, please pass it along to somebody else that you think it might be helpful to, because these are just some things that I think we need to talk about more, and I'm here to talk about it. So thanks. Bye.